Hello, Tuesday night Pokemon fans. Welcome back to the Forge's Tuesday Standard Pokemon event. I am your host on the left, John, joined by
Tom, and we are here for Tuesday Night Pokemon, as always, with a little bit of a twist tonight. Temporal Forces is semi-legal, meaning
it's legal if they ran a pre-release.
Yeah, so players can play with the new cards tonight if they want to. They can also use proxies to use some of the post-rotation cards that they might not have had access to yet. But also other players might not have fully changed their decks from the previous format, so we might still see things like Battle VIP Pass and things of that nature.
But, Battle VIP Pass in Charizard with Maximum Belt might actually be on the agenda tonight, ladies and
for
gentlemen.
Buddy Puff and for VIP Pass.
All right, want to dive into something real quick here. We always appreciate you joining us here on the stream here at The Forge. We could not do this without you. As we do every week here, we do have a stream discount. If you come down to The Forge, you can get 10% off anything you buy with the exception of events. So if you want to come down and spend $1 million on Pokemon cards, Tom, you can use the discount. The discount this week will be Buddy Poffin in honor of Temporal Forces. So come on down, say you saw us on the stream, use the code Buddy Poffin, which should be in the corner of your screen there, and you get 10% off. You can use that as many times as you would like. We will have a new code for you next Tuesday when we do streaming again. I want to start out, though, while we're getting our players set up for our first match out there. Tom and I were going to discuss some of the updating cards for Temporal Forces. I think the first one we were looking at was actually mentioned just now was the Maximum Belt. Andrew, do you have a picture of that, Japanese version? There you go. Tom, I saw you testing against Charizard, getting ready today. Yeah. What are you thinking about Maximum Belt? Is it going to be using anything else besides Charizard?
I think Arceus decks could use it as well. Maximum Belt reads the Pokemon this card is attached to's attacks do 50 more damage to your opponent's Pokemon EX. So Arceus decks, which normally hit for 180 or 200 with that Arceus, can get up to that 230 or 250 damage output with the Maximum Belt. That's important to one-hit KO basic EXs like Miraidon, like Chien-Pao, like Iron Hands with the Arceus. And like you mentioned, it could be important in Charizard decks as well, where that Maximum Belt could get you ramping up your damage output before your opponent has taken any prizes. So Charizard EX normally hits for 180 damage plus 30 more damage for each prize card the opponent has taken. But if they've taken no prize cards, you can still use that Maximum Belt to hit 230 on things like Iron Hands, Miraidon, Chien-Pao, all that again. And later into the game, in let's say the mirror match against an opposing Charizard EX player, you can hit that 330 damage output with your own Charizard EX before they've gotten to only one prize card remaining.
It's a very powerful card. We're seeing a lot of that with the A-Specs here. Some more of them being released in Japan now. They're a little bit ahead of our schedule. But these really seem to be the cards that will be defining the meta for the decks that will be seeing success in the next 3 to 4 months before the next release of Twilight Masquerade, which is 2 months away, 3 months away?
2 months away.
Wow,
we are
tucking them in there.
I think we are I think I calculated 7.5 weeks away from pre-release for Twilight Masquerade.
Well, let's focus on the meta right now. Tom, I know you are headed to Europe.
Yeah.
What are you playing, and why does everyone need to know what you're playing?
The actual honest answer is I don't know. There's a lot of decks that seem very good, and the question is, how good are they? And how good are the new things? So like Ancient Box and Future Box and Turbo Hands and the new version of Lugia and all that sort of stuff. How good are they really, and how do they stack up against prior decks that were established in the meta that don't change a whole lot? Things like Chien-Pao, things like Charizard EX. So on the top of my mind is Charizard EX. You don't want to be going to London with a deck that doesn't beat Charizard. I think if you're going to London with a deck and saying, I can beat everything except Charizard, you're still not going to have a good time.
We have seen some Lost Box decks, specifically tech with the Iron Leaves, I believe it is. It's got the Rapid Vernier ability.
Yeah.
You can suck all the energy up. It reminds me of Weird Dare V, actually, and then head into the active and take those big one-hit KOs on Charizard. I'm interested to see, though, with the Japanese meta being almost, 50% Charizard and a mix of a Pidgeot EXs and Bibarel EXs, how people are teching the EUIC, just because the format is best of 3. It's not that just extremely brutal, maybe get a little bit lucky and fight your way to the top of the Champions League. It's going to be that best of 3, which can be quite a slog, which brings me to another question here. Stall is always a deck that's 2 to 3% of the meta in the day 1. It has a pretty good conversion into day 2 as long as the player knows what they're doing. We've got some great Stall players here. Max was actually joining us a couple weeks ago. What do you think about Stall going to EUIC?
I think it's very good. I don't expect it to get over 6% of day 1. That would be pretty high. I think the highest we've seen Stall get was at maybe Knoxville, and it was 4% of day 1. And people have been really hyping up Stall. The funny thing is, I actually think that the people really hyping up Stall are people who didn't play it in the prior format. Because despite the fact that Eerie is very good, from our testing and knowing Max being a very good Stall player and having played it for most of the Paradox Rift format, he feels like it doesn't feel as good into this new format.
That is a little bit of an unusual take, because Max, being an expert Stall player, might be playing it in Vancouver this weekend. Max, if you're watching, I'm sorry, I just spoiled it for everybody. So sorry, we can see your comments here. Do appreciate the upstream
ponage and saying, hanging out. Great to see you guys.
Headed into Vancouver, though, probably Stall going to be the ticket. We did see in Brazil a success of Pidgeot control, which I'm not going to lie, a bit of a snooze fest to watch. But that deck, when played well, is nigh unbeatable, because you're just locking down the resources, and then eventually you can take prizes as well.
I think the hardest thing, I think Pidgeot control is hurt a lot more by rotation than Snorlax Stall. If you want to split out the two control decks into different categories, because of the loss of Peonia. I think we've seen Hale Olbernulty played that Pidgeot EX control deck. I think maybe it was San Antonio. And there was a game where he prized 3 rare candies.
Oh, geez.
All 3 of his rare candies. Very unlikely, but now the fact that you don't have Peonia anymore means those are prized forever.
I think you're relying on Arc Rotom Phone. Is that the item card?
Yeah, there's Arc Phone plus Daisy's Help. So Daisy's Help draws 2 cards and lets you see your face-down prize cards. And then Arc Phone, I think, lets you switch the top card of your deck with one of your face-down prize cards. So it's a way to get things out of the discard or out of your prizes, but it's not a good way to get things out of your
prizes. It is a
prizes.
way, but it's not a good way to do it.
So I want to say I'm not discounting Stall as a deck, and that's not what I meant to say. I do think it is very good, and Eerie is a very good card, but I also think that people are all sort of thinking about Stall being good, and
putting an extra switch in the deck.
Yeah, there's a lot of
the
decks that can
Gengar.
deal with it. I mean, Lugia plays 4 Jet Energy, and everything in its deck except the 1 Lumineon they play can attack.
Okay.
And so that's probably a pretty bad matchup for Snorlax. Giratina seems like it still could be pretty good. Same thing, that was always a terrible matchup for Snorlax. I don't expect it to get any better. And then Charizard Bibarel plays the Squovet, which means that you can never really deck them out as the control player, so you have to find a way to deal with the Squovet before you can really win the game.
And we were talking about earlier too, even if they go in with the Chi-Yu to try to discard those cards to really mill you down, you just respond by taking prizes that two prizes are in the active.
Yeah.
I was listening, Tom. I was actually listening.
Yeah.
All right. Looks like we got our players getting set up out there. We take a brief break here. You have time to get a snack before we come back to our first game. So stick around. We'll get set up in 1 second. All right, welcome back, Pokemon fans. Because today is an interesting day, Tom and I actually have very little idea what decks these are playing, so we will be discovering them with you. I do have a pretty good idea that Tim, who might be on the top end of the screen there, is playing Origin Form Dialga. So we're going to see a metal deck using the new Metang's ability, which is going to be a pretty cool one. We don't know what his opponent is playing, so let's see how this goes, Tom.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I think everyone does. I love when a new set comes out and seeing all the different decks that people cook up, and it really just like everyone is happy when a new set comes out because everyone is just ready to get onto a new format. Especially Paradox Rift was a little bit longer format than we generally have.
It was like 6 months.
So going into Temporal Forces is very fun, and funny enough, we were mentioning earlier, is going to be probably one of the shortest formats ever, given that Twilight Masquerade comes out so soon.
It is really exciting, too, that this format will be making its first big unveiling at the European Union International Championship. So that meta is going to get shaken down extremely hard. I know you've been testing. Other players that I talked to have been testing. JW Krewall, who's an acquaintance of mine, has been telling me the list that he's been running. It seems like everybody doesn't quite know what they're looking for. They know what they're bringing, but it's going to be interesting to see what rises to the top.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always the fun thing is from the testing I've done so far, there are a lot of decks that feel very strong. And so the question is it a matchup roulette? Will one come out on top?
Is someone
you
going to
never
show
really
up
know.
with that dream deck that they cooked up and they win it all?
Yeah.
Isn't that everyone's Pokemon dream?
That is the dream. That is always the dream. And hey, maybe it'll be me.
Tom, I hope it is. You are joining Max in the UIC as well. So
A
it's
lot
tough
of
competition.
a lot of Minnesota players are actually going to be there. So hoping for Minnesota to show up proudly in day 2.
We are hoping that it's you versus Max in the finals. I
That
don't
would
know
be
who
sick.
I'd root for.
That would be sick because it has a very high chance of being a 60 card mirror.
Fantastic. Just so everyone who's watching is aware, if you take your time and come on down here to the Forge to play on stream, we do give you a pack for playing. And then if you win on stream as well, you do get another pack. That is in addition to any other prizes that you win. So if you come and play on stream and hang out with Tom and I, use the discount code, you do get a little bit of extra for taking the time out of your day to come down here to the Forge to join us. It looks like we've got a Lugia up top, or was that a...
I'm not sure. It might have been a Tina. But we do have Tim on the bottom here with the Dialga V-Star deck. And I saw a boss's orders, some Water Energy, a Jet Energy, and a Pokegear. So that indicates to me potentially it's a Giratina V-Star deck.
Alrighty. Giratina, frequent feature here on the Forge streams. Probably still one of the best decks in format. When it does Tina things, I mean, it breaks up pretty bad. It's not really that fun to watch.
If your opponent plays a deck that gives you time to Abyss Seeking, then you're pretty happy.
Indeed. Alright, it does look like Giratina. Could be another form of the Lost Zone deck, though. It's been a couple weeks ago, we did feature a junior playing Origin Form Dialga, and he was hitting Metal Energy. I think there was 8 energy attached to the Origin Form Dialga at one point. Just fantastic to watch the junior pull that off. That card going to be an F block card, so we will see that Dialga for another year in rotation here. After, was it April 4th?
Yeah.
April 4th is rotation. For those not aware, rotation is once a year. Pokemon says, all right, these cards are no longer legal. You have to move the date forward in which the cards you can use are sort of part of a collection.
Yeah.
It keeps the game fresh. It also keeps them selling Pokemon cards, which we don't particularly mind about.
And also make sure that no crazy unanticipated broken combos happen as they print new cards. Yeah.
Occasionally a card does come out and Pokemon goes, oops. I would say a deck that you've been testing, Lugia V-Star, when they printed that and then rotation got pushed back a little bit, that was oopsie doopsie.
Yeah.
We should speed this
Oops,
up.
we did it again. So we see the fist bump here, both players flipping over their cards, and it looks like we have Tim on the bottom going first with that Dialga Matang deck. Starting out that Beldum has a Dialga V, 2 bench for turn. I believe I see a Matang in hand, some metal a good amount of metal energies as well, and an Iono. So we should see a pretty good turn for Tim on the next turn, and about everything he wanted to see to start off with. Now, we are seeing this Lost Zone deck, Giratina. Looks like post-rotation Giratina. I did see some Buddy Poffins. And there's also that emergency board, which gives the Comfies free retreat when it is attached to them. So the only thing nerve-wracking here for Tim is that Beldum might go down to this Cramorant on this turn. We do see the Colress being played here. We see Jet Energy. We saw Buddy Poffin in hand. That means we're probably going to see at least 2 Comfies. As long as he keeps that switch card, it depends on what the other player keeps off of that Colress. But sending, I believe, Jet Energy and Lost back into the Lost Zone, keeping Artisan, Escape Board, or Emergency Board, and switch card. Using the Emergency Board on the Cramorant to retreat it, go into the Comfy flower selecting for Colress, Giratina V. Giratina V is chosen off that flower selecting and sent to the bench. And we should see a Buddy Poffin plus switch cart here.
I question the sequencing a little bit just because Buddy Poffin, I would have liked to have gotten what I needed before I went into it with the Colress, just because sometimes you might draw 4 energy on those Colresses, which is a tough decision. But working out here for Tim's opponent, whose name we will find out. I'm so sorry for the opponent there. Some of the guests that are not aware what these new cards do, Buddy Poffin does allow you to go into your deck, find 2 cards, or 2 Pokemon, basic Pokemon with 70 HP or left, and put them on your bench. It's sort of a newer, less powerful version of Battle VIP Pass, but it's not limited to your first turn. Also seeing the emergency board on there as well, reduces the retreat cost of your basic Pokemon by 1, but if it has 30 health or less, it has no retreat cost, regardless of how the initial retreat cost on that Pokemon. So it's kind of taking the place of Beach Court.
Yeah, absolutely. So we see Buddy Poffin for just 1 Comfy here. Jet Energy bringing that Comfy active. Going to use that second flower selecting. Looks like Heavy Ball plus another Cramorant. Probably can get rid of that second Cramorant. Probably not going to need it in this matchup. Plays the Heavy Ball. Maybe he's prized a Giratina V or that Radiant Greninja, which would also be an important card in it. Is that Radiant Greninja that is prized? So Heavy Ball going to be able to tutor that out of the prize cards and shuffle that Heavy Ball back into the prize cards to replace it.
All right, Tom, as you were mentioning, getting that 4 in the Lost Zone does allow Cramorant Spit instantly to attack for free. So that Bedlam is not going to be turning into a Metang next turn. That Metang has the ability to look at the top 4 of your deck and then attach any metal energy you find there to your Pokemon. So it looks like
Switch cart to retreat or to get out of that comfy back into the Cramorant and use that Spit innocently attack to knock out that Beldum. And now we see Tim draw for turn. And he's going to be able to utilize that Artisan to start getting more Beldums out, which it's unfortunate that that one went down on the last turn. But I believe, unless I'm wrong, I believe the Dialga V-Star could still take a KO on this Cramorant this turn with just 2 energies attached. I believe it does 40 plus 40 more for each metal energy attached to it. So as long as he can find the V-Star, he could at least take a knockout this turn.
Does have a good chance of doing that, also disrupting the Giratina player's hand with that Iono. So going to be able to play through his hand a little bit and then Iono for 6 new cards. There is a lot of energy in that hand, though. That energy will go to the bottom of the deck, which is not the most useful thing for that Metang. Won't have to worry about that till next turn, though, because is it Beldum or Bedlam?
Beldum.
Beldum, excuse me.
It's a dumbbell.
There we go. I should just know that. They have Pokemon named Seal, which is just a seal. I should just assume that it's not the regular word.
So we do see the Dialga V-Star evolving from that Dialga V and an attachment for turn. And then I imagine we will see an Iono here. Both players shuffle their hand, put it to the bottom of their deck, and draw cards for each prize card they have remaining. So Tim will draw 6. His opponent will draw 5.
Iono, a card that we will probably see for another 2 years in the format. Probably one of the best disruption cards. Roxanne is also staying in the format too. Probably one of the best late game disruption cards. So Pokemon, the TCG, has actually moved into a lot better disruption in the last year or two with the introduction of that Iono. Really powerful card against these Lost Zone decks.
Absolutely.
All right, does look like the Giratina player stumbled into a couple energy and a Buddy Poffin. But Tim, is he sitting on
one of the things? Yeah, Tim did draw into a couple Ultra Balls there. One of the things you may have noticed on his opponent's last turn as well is he did Heavy Ball for that Radiant Greninja, but he forgot to bench it before attacking, so that Radiant Greninja goes back to the bottom of the deck. And now that his opponent is losing out on that draw power. Michael Holmblad, tell me you're new to Pokemon without telling me you're new to Pokemon. Poor Beldum. Beldum. I can't read. Poor Beldum. Michael, is Beldum one of your favorites? Did you feel personally attacked by the Bedlam comment?
I am so sorry, Michael. We will never make that mistake again. Coming back to the game here, we do have 2 Beldums here on the bench, getting ready to turn in Mentangs to power up that Origin form Dialga. The ability on, or the V-Star ability on that one does 220 damage if you have the requisite metal energy on there. I believe it takes 4 metal and 1 colorless, but you get to take another turn afterwards, and those are the best abilities in the Pokemon TCG.
So we do see Tim's opponent draw for turn. It looks like Nest Ball, and now a Flower selecting into Giratina V and a Nest Ball. Going to take that Giratina V, send the Nest Ball to the Lost Zone. However, I didn't see a Colress's Experiment in that hand, and we did see him Lost Zone a Colress's Experiment on the last turn. So only 2 left in the deck, unless he prized any as well.
I did see a Maximum Belt in there, so it is ready to take damage on the EXs that Tim does not play. Good to see that Nest Ball, though, for Radiant Greninja. A little bit more draw power.
Michael, I feel like you are about the same age as me, saying Gen 3 is one of the best gens. I feel like I sort of grew up with Gen 2, but Gen 3 was like the first one that I played over and over and over.
I am an original 151 player. I remember the glitch to get Missing No.
Missing No. On Cinnabar Island, was that where you did
There was a weird sequence of events of people you had to dodge and people you had to talk to, and then you could break the game with, I believe, a memory overflow is what that was.
We do see a Colress's Experiment now for Mirage Gate, V-Star, Switch Cart, Mirage Gate, Roxanne. Going to be some tough decisions here. Depends on if he needs that switching card. Maybe that can go to the Lost Zone, and doesn't really want to get rid of the Roxanne, but is probably going to have to.
The question is if he has 7 in the Lost Zone right now, if he can get there. It looks like he can.
He will be
that
at
Mirage
7.
Gate does have 1 water energy in the discard, but if he can get the Radiant Greninja into the active, powered up with the Mirage Gate, we are going to see both of those Beldums go down
Yeah.
this turn.
Well, I actually think he might be going to knock out that Dialga V-Star with Giratina. That would leave Tim with basically no attacker that can do much of anything. The Zamazenta could do 220, but that's still not knocking out a Giratina V-Star. So I think we might see that Giratina V-Star come in and use... wow, I forgot the attack name on Giratina
Lost
V-Star.
Impact.
Lost Impact. It's been too long.
Tom, you're doing great. There's so many different Pokemon names. Beldum, obviously the most difficult one. But yes, it is a colorless, a grass, and a psychic. Giratina V-Star doing 280 damage. It does have to place 2 of those energy in the Lost Zone, but that is actually a benefit because then you're getting closer to that 10 count to use the V-Star ability to take the instant knockout.
And I do think that these Beldums do have 60 HP, so if he gets to Sableye range with 10 in the Lost Zone before Tim is able to evolve those Beldums, that could also spell disaster. And like you said, he could also use that Radiant Greninja to take out those Beldums as well, or even if they evolve into Metang, set up the damage and then Sableye them later.
Now, Tom, I'm not quite the expert on metal decks like you are. What is the Zamazenta on the bench for Tim doing?
The Zamazenta on the bench is just a good one prize attacker. It has an attack that for, I believe, 2 metal energy and a colorless energy does 100 damage plus 120 more damage if one of your Pokemon was knocked out on the last turn.
So it's like a retribution attack. Like you take one of mine, I take one of yours.
Yeah.
Alrighty, seeing this Giratina V-Star. Looks like it's going to put 2 in the Lost Zone and do 280. Taking a momentary read of the card, though, asking the same questions I think I was. This is an interesting game. I don't think we would see this anywhere else. Thank you, everyone, again, for joining us here at the Forge to play some Pokemon in both pre- and post-rotation format. We do this every Tuesday night. Again, if you want to come down here and join us, and you are selected to play on the stream, which is chosen randomly from the people here, you do get extra packs, and you're welcome to use the discount code BuddyBuddyPoffin throughout the next week if you want to come down and get some of the sweet Temporal Forces booster boxes they got laying around.
Yeah, so stores that held a pre-release could start selling the new set this last Monday, so yesterday. So if you are looking to pick up some of these Temporal Forces packs early compared to other stores that can't sell until this coming Friday, come on down to the Forge, use that code BuddyBuddyPoffin for 10% off.
Indeed, does also include singles. They've done a pretty good roaring singles trade here. If you're lucky, you could stumble into some ace specs that they've had coming in and out of the singles cabinet, in addition to some of the playable Pokemon. So if you need to get a Roaring Moon EX from Paradox Moon, or you need to get yourself a new Rare Art Salvatore that might be here at the Forge for you, you can get 10% off that as well. So taking the KO on that Origin Form Dialga, putting 2 in the Lost Zone. He's got 1 Grass Energy in hand, 1 in the Lost Zone, probably 2 more in the deck. I don't know if the Grass was the best choice to get rid of, but sometimes you just have to get rid of what you can get rid of.
Yeah, I think it was all he could really choose to do. I'm not sure if he has... There's a card underneath that Radiant Greninja, and I wonder if that is another energy. And if it is, if it's a water energy, maybe it's better to get rid of that. But you don't really want to get rid of 2 water energies because then he can't Greninja for the rest of the game.
I do believe he Mirage Gated a water energy underneath that Greninja.
So it can be a tough choice, but I believe that is only 1, maybe 2 Grass Energy in the Lost Zone, and if he does play... these decks can play 4, maybe 5 now. A little bit different than last format. They are playing a little bit more Grass Energy in the Giratina decks because of that Iron Leaves EX.
Very good. Right now, seeing Tim search out. Going for another Beldum. Once those Metangs come online, it is going to be unlimited metal energy. I don't know if that Zamazenta can actually get to the height, though, to take out the Giratina V-Star at this point. We're going to see a Super Rod, though, probably putting an Origin Form V and V-Star back into the deck. Maybe some metal energy as well. Super Rod, a powerful card. I think we'll see reprinted until the end of time. And take any combination of Pokemon and energy, basic energy, and put them back into your deck. We're going to see a Luminion for supporter here now, using Luminous Sign. Go into your deck and find a supporter. What are you looking for here, Tom? Professor's Research, Iono, beat him down?
Yeah, I think it's probably got to be an Iono. Want to disrupt that hand. It needs to draw into a few Metangs here or a way to find Metangs. So we're going to see that Iono come down. Both players will shuffle their hand to the bottom of their deck and then draw a card for each prize card remaining. So Tim will have a hand of 5. His opponent will have a hand of 3. And I believe that hand for Tim's opponent had 2 Mirage Gates in it, which means to power up his next attackers, he's going to have to shuffle that deck, which is possible with that Artisan in play, but his bench is already full, so maybe that's not a way to do it. But he's going to have to find a way to dig for those Mirage Gates.
All right, giving Tim some credit here too. That Iono can be a little bit tricky sometimes. That if you shuffle in the wrong order and then shuffle your hand into the deck, unfortunately, it is an automatic loss. So players being very careful with that Iono.
Now, it looks like Tim didn't draw into any Matangs, but he did draw into a TM Evolution, but he didn't draw into any energy to use the TM Evolution. So just a really rough hand there for Tim, unfortunately.
I could see a switch where he could hand him a Beldum. Right now, I think it's just hold the TM Evolution. He's got the V-Star in hand, it looks like. Just going to be waiting this turn out. This is extremely open, though, to a Radiant Greninja play.
Yeah. Yeah, his opponent will have to dig for those last 2 Mirage Gates that are on the bottom of the deck, but if we know anything about Lost Zone, it's pretty good at digging. We have a Beldum hater in the chat as well. You know, what can I say?
Sometimes the deck functions, sometimes the deck gets beaten by Giratina, but he's not out yet. Still has the ability to take another turn if those Beldums hit a little bit. Going through the discard pile, the Giratina player, noticing that he's got 2 Colruses in there, 1 in the Lost Zone. So a lot of the draw support is gone with the exception of the Radiant Greninja. But you do see a Jet Energy attached to it. Now, if the Giratina player can get 1 more Water Energy attached to that Moonlight Shuriken will be active.
And he does have the Mirage Gate.
There's Mirage Gate.
The question is the Water Energy in deck? Did he sealed cards away any earlier on? Does he need to have a Super Rod to be able to find those Water Energies?
It is a great opportunity to use Artisan to go look for a Pokemon and then confirm the Water Energy is in the deck.
And it looks like he did have the energies already attached to that Greninja. He does need to discard those for that attack.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
So discarding 2 Water Energy, leaving the Jet Energy on that Radiant Greninja. I would have preferred to see that Jet Energy go away, to be honest with you. It means that, you know, he wouldn't have to... Yeah, it's just, you definitely leave the water on. But
sometimes players play this different ways, and it's not the exact way that we would play it. But always fun to watch players playing unique decks in different forms of the meta that will never exist.
I think that he is also in a very fine position. Tim has been, unfortunately, unable to do anything, and with that hand he has here, I don't think he's going to be doing much of anything on this turn either.
All right. And one of the reasons, too, this Giratina deck has been so successful in the meta, won several events, 3 events this year.
Yeah.
On 3 events this year. When it does well, it does extremely well. 280 damage on demand. Sableye at 10 in the Lost Zone. You've got the Radiant Greninja on demand once you get those Mirage Gates going. Extremely powerful deck.
So we do see an Arven here from Tim. Could find him a tool card and an item card, but yeah, you just have to think it might be too late at this point.
If he can get the Origin Foreign powered up to a V-Star, then get 5 energy on it, then boss up the Giratina V-Star, then do 220, then take another turn, and then do it again, he could still be in it.
That is a way that
it is possible.
Yeah. Or you can hope your opponent whiffs for 3 turns too. That is also a possibility.
You could also hope that Iono and your opponent shuffles their hand into their deck. That does happen in games.
Yeah. You play the Iono down and you say judge. A little temptation there.
All right, seeing Tim get down 2 Bidoofs. Bidoof cannot be bench sniped by that Radiant Greninja because of its carefree countenance. Is that what it is?
That is correct. That carefree countenance ability on Bidoof is its own bench barrier. No need for Manaphy here.
Indeed. Gonna Ultra Ball away the Choice Belt. Not necessarily that useful in this matchup right now.
Cody in the chat saying he once went on a date with a woman named Tina. Does that make him a Tina player as well?
Indeed it does. Congratulations, Cody. We're very proud of you. I'd like to just give a shout out to the local Pokemon community. Extremely supportive, extremely welcoming of new players here. It's always great to see these guys in the chat supporting both the juniors, the seniors, and the Masters League. It's actually a very great group of peers, all of us playing Pokemon together. And Tom, that's why we do this. We're just trying to grow the Pokemon TCG here in the Minnesota area and beyond. So yeah, if you ever do run into any of the players in the chat, they're extremely kind, happy to explain the rules of Pokemon. They've been very welcoming to me when I got back into Pokemon about 2 years ago. And my son, Tom, you've been fantastic as well. Well, and here we are watching Pokemon on Tuesday night.
Absolutely. It's a great time and wouldn't be anywhere else.
All right. Seeing Tim kind of going through his options, does have that Battle VIP pass in his hand. Not the most useful thing late in the game. I'm not going to miss that card.
No, not at all.
Going to attach return and hope. Why are we shuffling our hand?
He used the Metang's ability.
Oh, okay, he did.
Yeah.
To the bottom of the deck. Found 1 metal energy. So all 3 water energy currently in the discard pile. So our Giratina player would need to find a Super Rod and a Mirage Gate at the same time. It does have the energy attached though, so he could retreat.
Just passing the turn over, has to hope essentially that his opponent does not have a Mirage Gate here to power up that Giratina V-Star. And the funny thing is we are seeing that lost zoning of the grass energy coming back to bite Tim's opponent because he does have the Psychic Energy in hand. He could have used the Giratina V-Star's V-Star power to take the knockout, but we're just going to see a Sableye to knock out the 2 Bidoofs, and that is going to be the game. So, well played by both players. Unfortunate to watch the Metang deck not quite do what it wants to do, but it's always fun to see these new decks try to perform in these new metas when new cards come out. Congratulations to our Giratina player. It was awesome to see that deck still be able to function in this format. Some people always want to count Tina out, but Tina seems to stay around forever.
Tina sometimes does Tina things. If you'd like to check out previous video on demands where we've seen some of the Tinas work really well, and we've also seen some Tinas work really poorly here at the Forge, so great opportunity if you want to go check out some of our previous videos. You can see how that Tina was working. Right now we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll get the winner of the game in here for an interview. We'll give him his winner's packs, and then we'll be right back. Stick around.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to Tuesday Night Pokemon here at the Forge. We are here with our winners interview with Edward. Edward, congratulations on your round 1 win tonight.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. How long have you been playing? I think you're kind of a new face here at the Forge, but we're excited to have you.
I've been playing for almost about a year now. I have an activity that usually goes on at this time. I come to the Forge a lot to buy Pokemon stuff and, you know, like dice and damage counters and stuff. But finally, one of these days, the activity I do was canceled, so I got to come and play, and I'm really excited to be here. I played other tournaments sometimes, but I'm super excited, and when this activity starts to die down, I'm going to come more. Yeah. I'm super excited.
That's awesome. Well, we're happy to have you here. Tell us a little bit about Giratina V-Star. You already have it built for the post-rotation format. How are you feeling about Giratina V-Star in the Temporal Forces format?
So, you know, I'm happy with it, but I'm also a little nervous. You know, I have seen that, like, especially in the Japanese tournaments, like the Arceus Giratina V-Star might be kind of the method, so I might be looking into, like, switching into that, but I've loved Giratina V-Star ever since it was, like, a thing, so, you know, I'm excited. You know, I like the one card that, like, lets you retreat with Comfy, emergency belt or whatever it's called. Yeah. But yeah, no.
Very cool. And the Buddy Poffins, not quite what Battle VIP Pass was, but it still works, right?
Yeah,
it still works.
Get those Comfies up.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on your round
you.
1 win, and thanks for sitting down with us, and good luck in the rest of your rounds.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Stay tuned for our round 2.
Searching for music for your next video? Then you need to check out Artlist. With amazing new music added daily and one simple license that covers all your creative needs. Artlist is the music licensing platform for all creators. Start now and find the perfect song. Artlist, made for creators.
Welcome back, Tuesday night Pokemon fans. Congratulations again to Edward, who won with his Giratina V-Star deck. Tom and I are here having a little bit of a chat between sessions. We're waiting for the players to get set up. I got another new A-Spec card that's currently out with Temporal Forces. It is the Reboot Pod, and we got some cool graphics here too. Big shout out actually to Andrew, who does the graphics for us here. Really appreciate him taking the time to put this all together for us. So Tom, you want to explain to us what this cool robot does?
Yeah, Reboot Pod is a future card, so it is built to be used with the future decks. It says during your turn you can play this card, and you may attach a basic energy from your discard pile to each of your future Pokemon in play. So it's a form of energy acceleration for the future decks. They have the new Baby Miraidon with the, I believe it's called Accelerating Peak attack, which does 40 damage, and then you accelerate 2 basic energy from your deck to one of your benched
For
future
one
Pokemon.
colorless
For
energy,
one colorless
and it is a
energy.
basic.
Yeah,
that
very
card is
good attack.
busted in
Yeah.
pre-release.
Very
Broken.
good. Yeah, very good in pre-release, but also might be very good in this new format. The funny thing about Reboot Pod, though, and the way we've seen future decks being built already, is that it might not really even be played. The way that future decks are being built is it's mostly focused around using Iron Crowns to power up or to increase the damage output of that Baby Miraidon that we talked about previously, and Iron Hands. It's just 2 Miraidons, 4 Iron Crowns, 4 Iron Hands, and just using the Miraidon to power up the Iron Hands. They're playing 4 electric generators in the deck to accelerate energy, and so there's not really a need for the Reboot Pod. It could be good, but they do need some gusting options, and so a lot of those decks are resorting to using the new Prime Catcher A-Spec over this Reboot Pod.
One thing I do like about these new A-Spec cards, though, is these are going to be around for at least 3 more years. So we never exactly know what future cards will be coming out that this will pair well with, and we're not quite sure what people are going to figure out the best way to use this.
Yeah.
It is a great energy accelerator, like you were mentioning.
Yep.
The Iron Leaves doesn't necessarily require it. The Iron Hands with the electric generators doesn't quite require it. But I could see this being used in a single prize deck that kind of lacks the energy acceleration, but it might draw into it to get its board set up. But we'll kind of learn more as more future cards come out in the series here.
Yeah, things could change, like you said, too, so drastically as we go through another rotation a year from now, when all the V-Stars are gone and we're in a totally EX meta. Does Reboot Pod and the future box deck and that Miraidon that has a really good attack, do all of those become very good? Who knows?
Well, people at the same time were saying when Radiant Greninja came out, yeah, it's a great attacker, it's got a great draw support, but would you really think that there would be a Radiant Greninja played in a Roaring Moon EX to great success? Yeah, so you never really know where these cards are going to find themselves.
No one ever thought people would play 2 energy switches to power up a Radiant Greninja, but apparently you can.
But it kicks butt. So, all right, tonight for our game 2 here, we've got 2 juniors playing. I think we've got Corinne on the top, who is playing post-rotation Lugia with the mouse, a specialty of yours, Tom. And then we'll see, I think it might be, is she playing her sister?
She's not playing her sister,
okay.
I believe. It is Will's. I don't know. I don't remember.
Why don't we take a moment to go ask his name?
Let's go figure out.
All right.
So we don't have to.
Well, we have a second here again. Thanks to everyone for joining us here tonight. Don't forget, if you come down here to the Forge, to use the code BuddyPoffin. Get 10% off any products you buy here in the store. I feel pretty cool. The store has let me hold a Temporal Forces booster box here all night. One thing I'd also like to point out too, the juniors do not know this. They do get a pack for playing. We are also going to be giving both of the juniors an Ace Spec card as well as a thank you for playing here on the stream. So we got a Neo Upper Energy and an Awakening Drum to give
Very
these two
cool.
juniors for playing on stream.
So
they don't know that yet though.
Yeah, very cool. So as John accidentally opens up that booster box and hands out 18 packs to each of us, we have Corinne playing against John. Corinne, like you said, rotation Lugia deck, and John playing Charizard EX. So got a little bit of glare, but it looks like Corinne did start with a Minccino and an energy attachment and just passed over to John. So that may be a little bit of the downfall of post-rotation Lugia. Can have some pretty tough starting hands.
You were talking about, Tom, earlier that sometimes this Centino, if you find the Centino, it can actually attack on the first turn and do a decent amount of damage. Lugia is running exclusively special energy.
Yep.
Can still be attached like regular energy. But the goal for the Lugia player is to get that Lugia V down turn 1.
Yeah.
Find some Archeops, find a way to get them in the discard pile. So turn 2, you've got the V-Star, Summoning Star, putting them on your bench, and then you've got that unlimited energy acceleration.
Now I have to say, John is flexing a little bit here. I believe we're seeing a triple battle VIP pass turn here from John. So gonna go find 2 Pidgeys, 2 Charmanders, and that Radiant Charizard. So he saw Corinne's attach pass and raised her a triple VIP pass turn.
Which is not something you normally see because this is a post-rotation deck versus a pre-rotation deck.
Cody in the chat saying, "Oh man, Lugia seems pretty good." Now I wonder if that's sarcasm from Cody, who thought that Banette EX was good. Continuing on.
Tom, a bit of a history here with Cody, our local organizer. All right, going to see a bench get set up a John on the south side of the screen. It does look to be a pretty decent hand for Corinne at the top of the screen. Going to see a Jacques, which I've heard called a poor man's... Oh, excuse me, that's gets 2 evolution. I was thinking it was an Arven.
Yeah.
Going to go get an Arven. Excuse me, going to go get a Jacques. Probably going to go get 2 evolutions would be... If she has an Ultra Ball in hand, she can get those Archeopses, get them in the discard pile.
And it looks like that's what she's going for. Going to grab the 2 Archeops and shuffling up that deck. See a comment here in the chat from Dead Maniac. Is this post-row or pre-row? It's kind of a mix of both. The memo didn't fully go out to everybody that we were trying to do post-rotation tonight, but we didn't want to exclude anyone who wasn't prepared. So it's a mix of the 2. Next week we should be fully post-rotation.
Tonight is a fun night here at the Forge.
Absolutely.
Every night is a fun night. Some nights it's try-hard night,
Yeah.
but tonight is a fun, just have fun night. All right, going to see 2 Archeopsis. Does have that Ultra Ball. The goal to get those Archeopsis in the discard pile, so Lugia V-Star hopefully next turn can get the board established with that energy acceleration. Primal Turbo, the whole engine that makes this deck work. You can attach 2 special energy from your deck to one of your Pokemon. And if you have 2 Archeopsis down, that's 4 special energy. Now, Tom, you like this mouse. Why do you like this mouse against Charizard?
I mean, the Cinccino is crazy. For 5 energy attached to it, it can do 350 damage in Oko, a Charizard EX. And, you know, people like to say that Lugia is very inconsistent, but I just saw 2 Archeops at the discard pile, a Lugia V come down that can't be knocked out by Corinne's opponent, and a pretty good hand for next turn to start taking big knockouts. She can even take a knockout on this Manaphy this turn by evolving that Cinccino and attaching that Mist Energy. So even though she can't V-Star this turn, she is going to be able to attack and take a prize card. Seems pretty good to me at Cody.
Also like to point out, Corinne is actually going to be attending the World Championship Pokemon.
Yeah.
She secured her invite back in San Antonio. She actually just beat my son, who is also going to Worlds with this deck on his Roaring Moon EX.
Yeah, we have a pretty good group of juniors and seniors here at the Forge and just in Minnesota in general. And there's a good few of them that are already qualified for Worlds this year, which is very cool.
Very exciting, especially in this post-rotation format. Everything's going to get shaken up. The kids are kind of excited.
Yeah.
We are spending a lot on cards.
I'm also
though.
very excited. I'm also spending a lot on cards.
All right, going to see a rare candy, hopefully into a Pidgeot EX for John. Going to start the sequencing, what allows him to use Quick Search and hopefully go get a Charizard into the active. That Charizard will be able to take out the Minccino that took the knockout on the Manaphy, but will it be able to take a knockout on a V-Star? It will not.
It cannot.
So we will be able to see next turn Corinne potentially putting 220 damage onto that Charizard and then retreating into another Cinccino if she can.
Yeah, I think the goal for Corinne on the next turn, get into that Lugia V-Star, get the Archeops out with that that V-Star power, and set up 2 more Mincinos on the bench to evolve into Cincinos to start being able to take big knockouts on those Charizard EXs. But she also is going to be able to take a 2-shot knockout with that Lugia V-Star, because there's no way for Charizard EX to take a 1-hit KO on the Lugia until Lugia has taken more prizes. However, it looks like John didn't have the rare candy necessary to take KO this turn and get into a Charizard EX. So just a pass over to Corinne, and Corinne is playing that Master Ball. That Master Ball A-Spec, going to be able to search her deck for any Pokemon card, and I imagine it's going to be either the V-Star or just another Minccino. But
Corinne actually playing the Alt Art Grayscale Master Ball. Proxies are allowed here tonight, so you may see some rare art cards being played. Tom Famous, we're playing an Energy with, what is it, Force Seal Stone?
and Energy with Sharpie on it is the best form
Energy
of
with
proxy.
Sharpie on it is
Yeah.
the best way to do it. We'll call
Absolutely.
them Tom's Special Illustrated Rares.
Yeah, I have a lot of those Buddy Poppins alt arts.
Again, everyone, thank you for joining us tonight, kind of giggling a little bit, watching these juniors play. Both very skilled players, fun to watch them. A little bit slower sometimes, but it's interesting to see younger players come up with different paths of play. Sometimes not the most correct thing, but it is fun to watch them work through this game. I'd like to point out, it is still Corinne's turn. The thing I would be paying attention to as Corinne is the more prizes she takes, the more intimidating that Radiant Charizard gets.
Yeah.
So there is damage established on the board on her Lugia. That could be the 2 prizes at the end of the game that John needs to take, depending on how this game goes. Does have quick search online, so we will be able to go get a Charizard likely next turn. We'll see how that goes.
We'll see. I'm trying to get a read on what else is in Corinne's hand here. She can obviously use the Lugia V-Star power to get those 2 Archeops from the discard pile onto her bench. The question is, does she have a way to boss up that Pidgeot? Because this Cinccino could take a knockout on that Pidgeot EX, which would be pretty devastating for John. But it looks like her hand is Arven, Serena, and a Minccino. So definitely going to want to bench that Minccino to get another one going. And she did see that John quick searched last turn for a card, but did not play it. So she probably wants to Iona there. But
Opts to take the prize. Sometimes, Tom, you got to take the prizes in front of you. Again, a great thing to watch the juniors play sometimes, because they do have different paths to play than we masters would take.
Yeah, I would have loved to see that Minccino come down. Obviously, we know this Cinccino is going to get knocked out on the following turn.
Not necessarily.
Most likely.
Most likely.
And we got to get another Cinccino up to one-shot the Charizard EXs. But Corinne still in a very good position. Going to be up by 2 prizes in this prize race. She does have a gift energy on that Cinccino, so when it does get knocked out, she will be able to draw up to 7 cards before starting her next turn.
All right, seeing John establish his board state a little bit using the Infernal Rain from the Charizard, he can go get 3 fire energy from his deck and attach him to his Pokemon in any way he would like. Does have a backup Pidgeot on board too. If that Pidgeot EX is bossed up, not a bad play there. I think that energy was attached previously, so that's okay. Was it?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe there was 1 energy attached previously and then 3 attached from that Infernal Rain.
Now, sometimes what we'll see with some junior players in Charizard is they will go to Infernal Rain and only have 1 energy in their deck. It can be a little bit of a stumbling block.
That can happen.
John expertly playing it, and good job for Corinne realizing that that gift energy does need to resolve before she starts her turn.
So you do not... One thing to know is you do not promote until you've drawn for the gift energy. If you do that, I don't know if this is the correct ruling, but I've heard people have an experience at a tournament where they didn't take the cards for the gift energy before promoting, and then their opponent told them, you can't draw those cards now. I think you still actually have to draw the cards. I don't think you can choose to draw the cards. You have to draw the cards.
I do believe gift energy always has to resolve
yeah.
because it does add a semi-ordered state to the deck.
Yep.
So you have to take the cards.
So Corinne trying to decide what to do here. If she had benched that Minccino last turn, she does have a Cinccino in hand, so she would be able to use the Archeops plus an attached return to take a knockout on this Charizard EX. As it is, I think she'll just have to be swinging with this Lugia V-Star, attaching a double turbo energy from hand to it, and gonna need to start using those Archeops to accelerate special energy from her deck.
Not necessarily going to need the mist energy later in the game. She does have a pretty full hand and is not super concerned about this getting knocked out. Let's see, we are doing 240, opting to not do an attack though.
I'm gonna just pause quick.
Tom's gonna go.
I think this is a new deck.
I do know that this is a new deck for Corinne. Previously played Miraidon to extreme success at a bunch of regionals in San Antonio and Toronto. I'll take a moment here to thank everyone who is joining us tonight. Do not forget to use the code if you come down here to the Forge, Buddy Poffin. And it's actually a way that we use to track our engagement here at the Forge to see how much business we are bringing in with the stream. So if you do come on down here to the Forge, make sure you use that code. Again, there is no limit to how much money you can spend here at the Forge with that code. So yeah, come on down to the Forge and use that Buddy Poffin. Code is good until next Monday. You have plenty of Temporal Forces in stock as well. So Tom, what do you see?
Yeah, sorry, I was just kind of using that as a little mini coaching session. I know that these decks are really new for our juniors, so you don't really like to stop games while they're in progress to give people tips and tricks, but Corinne did just pass there when she could have attacked with the Lugia V-Star. One, I knew this was a new deck for her, so I wasn't quite sure if she knew what Archeops did, so I wanted to make sure she knew that she could attack if she wanted to. She said that she wasn't sure if she had enough special energy to attack. She didn't want to waste it. So we just had a mini quick coaching session on the side about using Lugia V-Star and making sure we attack every turn.
Polka Dad Tom. Kicking in. Good job, Tom. All right, watching John get his turn going here. He will be hitting for 180 plus 60, so that's 240 damage. Not quite taking out this Lugia V-Star, but using the opportunity of that quick search to... Oh, you might see a Devo play here, or is that just fodder for a Ultra Ball?
I think it might just be either fodder for an Ultra Ball. He can take it off of the Arbin, so why not take it? We will see if he... Sometimes players don't know, but Devo doesn't actually get rid of the Archeops because they are not evolved Pokemon. They were brought from the discard pile. So TM Devo does not do anything here, except it would get rid of the Lugia V-Star being evolved.
All right, going to see Lugia V-Star put back into his hand. I think, Tom, you have predicted the question here right now.
Yeah.
Let's just
He
hold
did
on
think
one
that-
second, though. All right, Tom is almost as if he can see the future. Polka Dad Tom going to go out there and make a brief judge call. So TM Devo, and actually a tricky card to play. You put the highest evolution into your hand from that which was played from your hand. So you unfortunately don't pick up the Archeopses because they have not evolved so far. TM Devo does not affect them. There's nothing underneath them to pick up. So you see the Lugia V-Star go back into hand for Corinne, but next turn she will, because it's in her hand, just be able to plop that right back down. Often a useful thing if you TM Devo something that has more damage on it than what was underneath it. So you can TM Devo and then do a board wipe for some of these strategies. But actually a really clever play from John, just sort of a bit of a rules effect that needs to be resolved.
It's one of those things that you just have to learn. You would think, hey, Archeops is an evolved Pokemon. If I use TM Devolution, those Archeops are gone, and that would be a very busted play. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. The Archeops are not considered evolved Pokemon because they are on the bench with no cards underneath them that they evolved from, so the TM Devolution doesn't do anything to them.
All right. Gonna see a Minccino and an ability used. Appreciate you, Corinne, aiming that towards the camera above.
Yeah, so we're going to see a retreat out of that Lugia V-Star into this Cinccino. Corinne going to need 5 energy on this Cinccino to take the knockout, but she's going to be able to accelerate 4 from these 2 Archeops, and then an attachment for turn from hand would be enough.
And even adding the double turbo takes 20 damage away, but it's doing 350
Yep.
minus 20, so it
Yep.
still takes a knockout on the Lugia with a single prizer.
Yeah, very crazy.
Lugia's back, baby.
And what's wild is, I mean, normally maybe Lugia attacks you and you go, well, I'm going to gust around this attacker and take out an Archeops so that you can't power up another attacker. But if you do that, the Cinccino's just doing 350 damage again. The one thing to note on the Cinccino, I worry that this could be a mistake here, is that the double turbo energy does not count as 2 energy. And I'm seeing Corinne do some math where it looks like she might be thinking that the double turbo energy does count as 2 energy. The Cinccino's attack specifically states that it does 70 damage for each special energy card attached, not for each energy attached. And that means that double turbo energy counts as 1 special energy. So it adds 50 damage to the attack, not 120.
All right, it is a tricky one. You do have to attach 1 from hand to get to that 350 magic number, but this is a great time to play at the Forge to learn these things, because if you showed up at EUIC with these and then tried to do that, it'd be a little bit of a different environment to try that in.
So it's a great environment here to, have people learn these new decks. It's always fun to be able to play post-rotation with proxies a little bit before the set releases, so we can all learn these new cards together.
All right, gonna see if Corinne has read the card. One of the biggest things in learning this game is, and I've been told this by Ryan too, especially when you're judging, is just read the cards. The cards will tell you what's going on. Sometimes it's a little bit mathematical, a little bit logical. but you got to just read the cards. So if she does have that energy in hand, she will be able to take the one-hit KO on the Charizard. John does have another one established, though, so he's ready to go. Price trade could be going in Corinne's favor here. She's 4-5 right now.
See what's in the hand as well. I wonder if she has a supporter to play for turn. Does have Serena. Iono does not have a special energy to attach for turn, but she could Iono to try to draw into it. But
here comes Polkadad Tom heading down there just to make a minor correction. I'd like to get a shout out to Tom here while he's currently out being the tournament judge here on the stream. Tom, an extremely accomplished player. I think he's only 100 points away from his Worlds qualification, headed to the European Union in 2 weeks to hopefully take a top 128, finishing out the prizes, the CP that he needs to earn his Worlds invite. An extremely accomplished player, extremely nice guy. If you can see him right now interacting with the kids, it's just fantastic. Actually, you can. You can see his head there kind of bobbing in and out, showing Corinne how he only doing 70 times 4, 280 damage minus 20 for the, 70 times 4 is 280, yes. Minus 20, 260. Am I right, chat? I think my math is right. All right, going to see John's turn begin here. 1 energy short on Corinne's side of the board. Tom, we were giving you compliments here on the stream, saying that you're really good at this and you're a really great player.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we're all learning these new cards as we go. Corinne, rightfully, I think, thought, I have a double turbo energy attached. It counts as 2 energy. But the text on that Cinccino, when you read it a little bit more carefully, does specify that it's for each energy card attached, not each energy. So you need 5 to take the knockout on this Charizard. Now, Corinne's still in a very good position if she can get another attacker set up. She has a Mew EX as well in this deck, so she could force her opponent down to 1 prize card remaining and then just take that final prize with the Mew EX. Or she can just establish another Minccino and take the knockout that way. But she will get a knockout on this Charizard EX this turn with the Lugia V-Star. And then she can sort of map out those last 2 prizes a little bit later.
I think she's doing what she needs to do here, Ultra Balling away a couple Pokemon to get that Minccino down on the bench. Hopefully evolving it into the Pokemon we saw go down last time. I think she plays 3 of each, so this would be the last one available to her. Am I correct?
That is correct. Normally, I think the Lugia deck plays a 3-3 Cinccino line. So Corinne playing this very well, getting that Minccino down, which is going to be her next attacker. But like I said, she does have that Mew EX as sort of potential bait for her opponent as well. She could bench that maybe now and have her opponent boss it up, potentially as an additional pressure. Basically, you just don't want your opponent bossing up that Minccino and taking it out, because it really is the real threat here. And so Corinne doing all the right things here, benching that Mew EX so she has another attacker, and then disrupting her opponent's hand with that Iono. Both players will shuffle their hand to the bottom of their deck and draw 4 as they each have 4 prize cards remaining.
All right. Good hand disruption against the Charizard deck. John, though, does have the quick search ability still online there, so if he does want to go find the boss, he can definitely do it. Seeing Corinne finding some more Pokemon search, though. That Archeop's not going to do her any good, so she'll be able to go find another Pokemon if she wants. Did see Lumineon go back into her deck as well, so if she does need that boss at the end of the game, she's got the bench space for it as well.
Absolutely.
I think we're going to see some Primal Turbos putting 4 energy on this Lugia so she can do the 220 to the Charizard for the knockout. Now the question is, going down to 2 prizes is going to put Charizard in range of 1-hit KOing this Lugia V-Star.
Yep.
But if Corinne is able to piece together 5 special energy on her next turn, she'll be able to return KO that Charizard for the win.
Correct.
Now the question comes with Lugia players, how much energy is left in my deck?
Yeah, that is the question. Now, the new Lugia does play 17 of those energies, so there is quite a lot of energy to work with, and Corinne has actually done a pretty good job managing it, despite a few fumbles with just, having new cards. That is to be expected. She has been doing really well managing those special energies in deck, and we do I would expect her to have enough special energy left in deck to attack with that Cinccino on the following turn if she can find it to evolve into it. We are going to see a Archeops to attach double turbo energy and gift energy to this Lugia V-Star, and I would expect us to see a knockout on this Charizard EX. Corinne just maybe doing a little bit of the math here, making sure that this does take the knockout, but with that damage from the Cinccino before and this attack from the Lugia V-Star, going to take a knockout on that Charizard EX and take 2 prize cards. Now John promoting that Charizard EX to the active, which will be now taking a 1-hit KO on this Lugia V-Star because Corinne is down to only 2 prize cards remaining. John drawing for turn, seeing what he can piece together here. Attaching for turn to that Radiant Charizard. See if John is able to find a boss's orders. The real threat, even though it doesn't look like it, the real threat on Corinne's board is that little Minccino on the bench. And we'll see if John is able to identify that and find a boss's orders to take a knockout on that.
Did we establish how much energy is in Corinne's deck yet?
We don't know for sure, but I have a gut feeling there's enough.
All right.
That's how you have to fly as a Lugia player. I have a gut feeling there's enough before I use my Primal Turbo. Yeah, it'll be fine.
All right. Going down to 2 prize cards for Corinne. John going to be taking the knockout on the Lugia V-Star. So getting all tied up. This is the game right here. If Corinne is able to establish that 5 energy.
She has the Cinccino in hand, I think. Gonna draw for turn, promotes the Mew EX for that free retreat. We'll see if she has everything she needs to take this final KO.
Does have energy in hand. That's one of the pieces. 2 energy.
There is a Cinccino in hand. Okay, the Cinccino is in hand. Does she have 4 energy left in deck to use Primal Turbo? That is the question, and that is always the question with Lugia.
1. Oh, she's doing it just off screen. We can barely not see.
I see. Okay, Jet. She hasn't used a lot of Jet energy. She should have 4 in there, so... just off the top of my head, I haven't seen a ton of Jet energies. So 1 Jet energy, 1 double turbo energy.
In poker, this would be called a slow roll.
Yeah, she's making us guess. But I would imagine she's got at least 2 more Jet energies in there to attach to this Cinccino. But first, using that first Primal Turbo, 1 double turbo energy, 1 Jet energy. The second Primal Turbo will be waiting with bated breath to see if the cards are in the deck.
Oh, Corinne, you are absolutely killing us. Let's see if those last...
Turbo.
She does have one of the energies she needs in hand. If she can get the other 2, this will be a win for Corinne.
As long as she doesn't attach 2 double turbo energy, and so far she's good. 1 gift energy, 1 jet energy coming down onto that Cinccino. And did you happen to notice what special energy card was in hand?
It only looked like it had 1 energy on it, so I think
that's all she
are
needs.
Good. Great game played by John. That early board establishment was fantastic. Probably never going to see a Charizard with Battle VIP Pass playing against a Cinccino Lugia deck.
Yeah. One of the great strengths for this Lugia deck in this upcoming format that Corinne is piloting so well, and we see that mist energy in hand that she can attach for turn to that Cinccino to take this final KO on the Charizard EX. One of the great strengths of Lugia in this format is the fact that it has a very strong Charizard matchup. There's not a lot that Charizard can do against these little chinchillas.
Chinchillas. There's a case to be made in the upcoming format to run a Delphox for that exact reason.
The funny thing is the Delphox doesn't do enough if you have a V-Guard on the chinchilla.
Oh, no, it doesn't. Tom clearly has gamed this all out. Tom, I think you're going to be bringing the giant ancient bird to EUIC.
You think so?
I think you are.
It's in my top 4.
It is in your top. All right. Well, I think we'll see a mirror match of Lugia in the top there. What's she grabbing here? Grabbed a Lumineon. UEX does have a free retreat cost, so it's pretty much the default report to duty if you need to switch Pokemon out. I think just to be safe, she might be grabbing a boss's orders with that Lumineon. just to bring up the Pidgeot EX to ensure that the math
The
is
missed
correct.
energy attached for turn, retreat out of the Mew EX. The moment we've all been waiting for. Cinccino using the attack, which name I don't know, but which does 350 damage to knock out the Charizard EX.
called
and
Special
game
Roll.
goes to Corinne. Is it called Special
I think it's called
Roll?
Special Roll.
That's great. So special roll for 350 damage, and Corinne wins that game. Awesome to see these juniors playing these new decks, and it is a real testament to their skill as juniors picking up these decks for the first time. When I walked out there to talk to Corinne, she said this was her third time
playing
playing
it,
Lugia
and beats Charizard.
and still playing it very well. So that was really fun to watch. And
Also,
congratulations
thanks to
to
your
John.
great
Yeah.
coaching as well.
It's good to help them along
Indeed.
the way with these new decks. That's what these nights are for. They're casual. They're for people to learn how to play the game and to have a good time doing it. And that's what we want to do.
Speaking of casual play, if you want to come play here at the Forge on Tuesday nights, please come and join us. If you're again selected to be play, or if you're selected to play on the stream, you do get an extra pack. And sometimes for juniors, we do something a little bit special. Speaking of which, we'll be right back with an interview with Corinne. She's going to get her packs, and we're actually going to give her one of these A specs as well. So yeah, go get a snack. We'll be right back in an interview with Corinne.
All right, sounds good. Welcome back to Tuesday night here at the Forge. Just scrolling through the comments here, we have some good comments.
Jack, I'm so sorry about all the snacks you have to eat, because I'm always like, go get us. You have
Jack
time for a
apparently has been listening to John, which of course John is handsome and charming, and how
What the
can you
heck?
not listen
Come
to
on,
him?
Tom,
And
you got a
he's
better
telling
haircut than I
people to go get snacks every time we take a break, and poor Jack has had to do it. We also have a question here though from Tropical Peaches: is pre-rotation still legal for next week, Tuesday at the Forge? The answer is no. We are going to be doing fully post-rotation next week. However, I do believe, and I don't want to speak for Ryan, but I do believe because the set isn't fully legal yet, but it is released, we'll still allow proxies if you don't have all the cards you need yet from the set.
That doesn't mean you can't bring your pre-rotation cards as well if you want to set up a friendly game. GLC is always welcome to be played here too, but generally we get between 15 to 20 competitors. We do try to group this into sort of like the bulk of the people. Tonight being a bit of a special night because why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we got our next players getting set up right now. We got one more A-Spec card that we did want to
Yeah.
talk about. This is actually my favorite one just because it looks the coolest.
It is
the
pretty cool.
Awakening Drum. Ancient Pokemon not having a ton of draw support in this, so this allows you to draw a card for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. So it's just like a pretty dang good card.
Yeah.
Not as good as Prime Catcher, but it's just cool.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, being able to draw up to 6 cards on an item card is just inherently very good. The question is always, is it better than whatever other A-Spec that you could play?
Right.
For some ancient decks, the answer will be yes. For some ancient decks, the answer will be no. And maybe we'll see some of that pan out in London in just a few weeks here.
Yeah, I think the big question is it better than Prime Catcher? Is it better than Maximum Belt? And
Yeah.
the answer's currently for me on most of the decks, no. But
Yeah.
we'll see what shakes out in this upcoming meta that someone decides to latch onto this card. I could see Great Tusk Mill potentially playing it if they do a different build, what we've been seeing out of the Japanese leagues. But yeah, Tom, you were actually excited about this matchup. We've got SJ, who's a frequent flyer here on the stream. What is he playing?
He is a frequent flyer. That means he's allowed in the special Forge Lounge. But he's also
We
playing...
weren't supposed to tell people about this.
Not supposed to tell them about that? Okay, sorry, you
Jeez.
didn't hear that.
Unlimited snacks.
Unlimited snacks. But SJ is on the post-rotation and very new Future Box deck. And I believe, I think he's playing against Alex, but I can't quite see out the window. And Alex was playing Lost Tina. And I do see Lost Tina, so I think it is Alex. So SJ versus Alex. SJ on Future Box, Alex on post-rotation, Lost Zone Giratina. So this is actually going to be a very interesting matchup. Both of these decks want to be fairly aggressive. Lost Zone decks usually wanting to take the first KO with that Cramorant on the first turn of the game going second. This Future Box deck wanting to take the first KO with that Miraidon on the first turn going second and accelerating energies into play. Now the tough thing for Alex here is going to be that Iron Hands. The dreaded Iron Hands in SJ's list going to be able to take multiple prize cards, and if Alex has a slow start, we could see that Iron Hands even take up to 4 prize cards as it gets powered up pretty quickly by that Miraidon.
Indeed. Talking to SJ, appreciate the Dead Maniac GLC shout out. We're always watching out for you GLC folks. The SJ was really relying on, we talked about energy acceleration, not playing the reboot pod. He is going to be relying on the electric generators to get the energy on the Iron Hands as soon as possible. He is actually playing an Iron Leaves as well for the Charizard matchup, which is that great move into the active, take all the energy with you. Not actually a bad attacker in this matchup either, if you just got to get something in the active that can take energy with it to take those knockouts.
Absolutely. Dead Maniac also saying, can't wait for A-Spec prices to drop. That is true. Pre-release prices can remain high, but you can get 10% off here at the Forge if you use that discount code BuddyBuddyPoffin. So whenever you watch the stream, you are not only having a great time watching Pokemon, but we can save you some money.
That is actually a good point. Tom,
So-
how many booster boxes have you opened?
I opened up basically 4 after everything was said and done. If I include the number of packs I opened, it was about 4 booster boxes.
Did you save any money with the code?
I plead the 5th because I have not bought packs at the Forge yet, as they were not selling them until it was legal.
That was a trick question. I was allowed to buy some packs on the 22nd, which was yesterday.
And we
I
can
got
head
some,
over
so-
to the and look at SJ. Look at SJ starting off that Miraidon. I believe he's chosen to go first. We see a Battle VIP pass here from Alex, and a Nestball going to grab 2 Comfies from that Battle VIP pass. Nestball going to get that Radiant Greninja.
All right. This is the Miraidon that we were talking about for the one colorless. Allows you to take 2 energy from your deck after the attack and then attach it to your future Pokemon any way you like. That is the way to power up an Iron Hands as fast as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
With a Cyber Maniacs deciphering, you can go into your deck too if you can find them and really set up one of those E-generators at the same time. Going to see a lot of flower selecting here from Alex. Going to see 2 cards. You get to keep one. One goes in the Lost Zone. Previously saw the Giratina deck can get really powered up, sometimes on its second turn doing that Cramorant Spit instantly, which would take out, or actually just come up short on this Miraidon. Opting to get rid of the Counter Catcher. So you can get an energy attachment or some way to see more cards. There's a concealed cards, grabs an energy and something else. So right now Alex is trying to establish a good board state here. Not particularly worried about the 40 damage coming off this Miraidon initially. Hoping to get a Giratina in play and get 7 in the Lost Zone so the Mirage Gates are working. Potentially getting a Radiant Greninja play to establish more damage on the Iron Hands to be cleaned up later by a Sableye. But a lot of options from the Giratina player, just sort of developing their board is the goal at this point.
And I do need to correct myself. I did think that Alex was playing post-rotation Giratina. It looks like he's playing pre-rotation Giratina V-Star, which is going to interact very weirdly, given that if he is playing Path to the Peak, it's going to shut down the Iron Crown's abilities.
Which is never supposed to happen.
Which is never supposed to happen, so this is a little weird, but and could be pretty rough for SJ, honestly. But we'll see how things go.
SJ right now doing some prize checking and look like opting to get a Bravery Charm from that Town Store Stadium, allowing you to go get any tool card out of your deck. In the Scarlet and Violet era, they actually errataed item cards and tool cards separately, so now it's more of a powerful class of cards that previously didn't see a ton of attention.
Well, it's unfortunate because it was a lot more fun when you could get Forest Sealstone off of Pokestop.
It seems a little broken, Tom. All right.
SJ gonna just use that accelerating peak for 40 on the Comfey. So unfortunately a rough start here for SJ, but he is gonna be able to power up that Iron Leaves on the bench, and we can always rely on SJ to be playing a somewhat shiny version of his deck.
Indeed, blinged out. All right, going back over to Alex. Just still have the Comfey in the active that survived. Going to see 2 more cards there, going to 3 in Lost Zone. If he has a Colress in hand, does look like he has a Pokegear 3.0, so he'll be able to go through the top of his deck and take a peek. Now that is a tough decision. Roxanne in this would be particularly useful, I would think, just because this deck does not play a ton of draw support for SJ. So going down to 2 cards in the mid game might be pretty tough for him. There is the Colress. Look at the top 5. You get to keep 3 of them. That's going to put 5 in the Lost Zone for Alex, so that Cram will be able to take an attack if he can find it. So because that Iron Leaves ability is only when you play it to the bench, you cannot switch that Iron Leaves into the active. Does have 2 energy on it, requires 1 more grass energy to attack. But SJ maybe in a bit of a tough spot right now.
Yeah. Now the one thing that is saving SJ here is that Bravery Charm that he put onto that Miraidon. That means it can't be knocked out by a Cramorant. It can only be knocked out by the Giratina V-Star or the Giratina V's Shred attack. So Alex would have to get to 7 in the Lost Zone on this turn to be able to take a knockout on that Miraidon, which I don't think is going to be the case.
Opting to get rid of the Battle VIP Pass. It would be kind of cool to see 2 or 4 Battle VIP Pass, 4 Body Pop. That is a lot of room in that deck.
That's
though.
a lot of stuff.
Question from the chat. What's the optimal way to draw off Colress? Is it to grab 5?
Jack, you gotta type faster if you're gonna do a multiple choice.
Or place 3 cards on the table, then 2? I'm just the kind of guy that just draws 1 at a time and then decides as I put them in my hand.
I'm gonna go with C here. Place 5 cards on the table.
So counting them ahead of time to make sure you don't see an extra is actually a good strategy, because the mistake can cost you 2 prize cards if you do it wrong.
B is a bit of a flourish on C though. You know, you kind of stack them. You go 3 then 2, or you can just straight go 5. The bold way is to just draw 5 cards off the top of your deck.
And then just throw 2 away without looking at them?
Yeah.
All right. Alex can see a couple concealed cards. It does look like he's in 7 in the Lost Zone based on the D20 stacked on his deck. Does have the Mirage Gate going into a Giratina V-Star. Now, if he can get the Mirage Gate and go get some energy, he will be able to power up that Giratina V-Star to do the 280 on the Miraidon. And the question is, do you have a way to get the Iron Leaves into the active? Because that seems to be the biggest threat, while not still a massive one.
Cody's saying the best way is to draw 5 and hurry up. I will mention that Cody has been accused by a few players of being a slower player.
Always trying to be nice here to the chat, Tom.
I never said slow is bad.
Slow is not bad. Slow is consistent. Slow is
Exactly.
fast.
Exactly.
All right, going to see a prime catcher on SJ's side of the board. It looks like Alex was unable to get the Comfey out of the active. He's going to force SJ to bring up the V-Star. The question is, can he get enough damage output on his board to really lay into that V-Star? I don't think he can reach those high heights. Giratina V-Star, a powerful deck just because it doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. It doesn't have any resistance either, but no weaknesses, anything makes it hard to kind of game your way to that 280 damage.
Yeah, unfortunate for SJ. No way to find any more Pokemon. He'd love to get some Iron Crowns out. Would love to get some Iron Hands started to get powered up, but just left with this Miraidon and the Iron Leaves. Could use that Prime Catcher, like you said, John, to knock out one of those Comfies or maybe the Greninja. Or I suppose he could hit into the V-Star, but that seems like a little bit of a waste as well.
Yeah, the question for now for SJ is, what do you use this Prime Catcher for? Because his Iron Leaves, he can power up with the Grass Energy in his hand, but what is he looking to take a KO on with that Prime Catcher?
I don't know. No shortage of future booster energy capsules, though, in SJ's hand. It has 3 of them there. Contemplating that Prime Catcher, and I do think... I mean, I don't see any reason to really do anything other than hit into the Giratina V-Star. He's going to do 200 damage to it with that Future Booster Energy Capsule attached, and it puts V-Star in the active, so Alex can't do any more flower selectings or things of that nature. But certainly a rough start here for SJ.
It does bring it within range of, though, taking 3 prizes if you can get an Iron Hands powered up.
Yeah, that's true. But he would first have to find an Iron Hands, and unfortunately those Techno Radars are evading SJ today.
Oh yeah, actually a good search card in here that I had not mentioned previously. Techno Radar, you have to discard a card from your hand, but then you can go get 2 future Pokemon and put them onto your bench. So it's kind of like a Battle VIP Pass, but you got to get rid of something first.
Yeah. Yeah, very good, very strong search card for these future decks, and would probably be played anyway, even if VIP Pass wasn't rotating. Just a much better card than VIP Pass for these future decks, and they can't utilize Buddy Poffin, but they get the Techno Radar.
All right, going to be seeing 9 in the Lost Zone from the Giratina V-Star, or excuse me, from the Colress. Bringing him 1 shy of using Giratina's one-shot knockout V-Star ability.
As long as he has a Mirage Gate to continue powering up this Giratina V-Star, I don't think Alex is in too much danger, just given SJ's slow start. Unfortunately, this game, we are going to see this attack from the Giratina V-Star, knocking out that Iron Leaves EX, and then a draw for turn from SJ. Just had nothing going on in hand. Top decked counter catcher, just couldn't do anything, and digging a little deeper into that deck, trying to show off what he was missing. Arven, a lot of Arvens in the prize cards, that sort of thing, and certainly a tough game for SJ there. We would have loved to see the future deck be able to be shown off a little bit better, but sometimes those sorts of hands happen in a best of 1.
Also in a format that will never exist.
That's true. The path to the peak interaction with a future box deck doesn't make a lot of sense. So
On that note too, a lot of us, I like to play Goldingo, just relieved that Goldingo's coin bonus ability is not going to be shut off. It's just going to be kind of a relaxing thing in the future that you don't have to play around Path to the Peak. One of the strongest things that Giratina had going for it was it didn't really need any abilities from any rule box Pokemon. Maybe Radiant Greninja, but you don't really need it. So we'll be right back with a winner's interview of Alex, and then after that, Tom and I will have a brief conversation, be wrapping up a little bit. Jack, you have another time to get a snack if you would like. We will be right back with a winner's interview. back, Tuesday Night Pokemon fans. I am here with the third and final champion of the night, Alex. Welcome back to the hot seat.
Hi, thank you.
So going into that game, you were playing Giratina. You were very familiar with it. We've seen you be successful with it before. You're sitting down at the table across from an opponent. You don't necessarily know what they're doing. What are you looking to do with Giratina?
Do what I always do. Put cards in the Lost Zone, draw half my deck as quick as I can, and just do whatever comes with that.
You do
Sometimes
team-
it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes Tina is Tina, sometimes Tina is Tina.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
right. So you are in a format that will never exist ever again. You're sitting down across from an opponent, SJ, who's very skilled, playing a deck that you don't know how it works. Does that change how you play, or are you just Lost Zone Tina?
For the most part, playing Lost Zone Tina just the way that I was, I'm super behind with anything that is Temporal Forces, so I haven't seen 90% of the cards
Okay.
or any of the decks that are coming out of it. So I was just going with, I'm going to play it how I normally would. If there's something that I feel like I need to look at, definitely look at the text on the card and go from there.
Clearly you knew what you were doing. Speaking of Temple Forces, you did win a pack tonight for playing on stream. Do you want to open on stream just in case we get
Sure.
an ace spec? I think this is actually the first pack opening that we will have had on the stream. Very exciting. It's a reminder too, for anyone you want to come down and play on stream, you do get a pack for playing on stream, and then if you win, you get a Series 4 prize pack as well, provided by our beautiful host here at the Forge. I'm hoping we get the purple edge that you get when you open those Temporal Forces packs. You can just see it. Do we have a purple
I
edge?
don't see purple. I know
Let's see if we can get
purple.
anything cool. Got a turd bag, Puchia, Slam, Cypher Maniacs code breaking.
I seriously need to look at this. Ooh.
So congratulations on pulling one of the rare arts here in the.
Hold on, card.
Yeah, can I hold it close to me?
Got it.
So that's what you get when you come play on stream here at the Forge. Alex, congratulations on your awesome pull
Thank you.
on stream. Anyone else you want to say hi to? We got the camera here in front of you.
My wife that is probably at home almost already asleep.
Alex's wife, thanks for letting him come out and play. And thanks to all of you for watching. We'll be right back with a wrap up with Tom and I here. Alex, good job.
Thank you very much.
Cheers. We'll be right back. So congratulations on pulling one of the rare arts here.
Welcome back to Tuesday Night Pokemon here at the Forge. We're just doing a little bit the post-show wrap-up here. Don't forget to come into the Forge this week. Use that code BuddyBuddyPoffin for 10% off all of your orders. Temporal Forces is for sale. I just bought myself 2 ETBs using that code BuddyBuddyPoffin for 10%.
Are we allowed to use the code?
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, everyone can use the code. That's why the code is cool.
Also like to point out that the Forge is actually one of the largest retailers of Magic the Gathering stuff here as well. They've got all the new Fallout Commander decks. If you want to come down here and pick those up, Commander is the best way to get into Magic the Gathering. It's probably the most friendly to your wallet way to get into Magic the Gathering as well. Murder at Karlov Manor, I think Bird is still doing awesome deals on that because Wizards sent them way too much of it. So yeah, come on down, use the discount code BuddyBuddyPoffin, get your Pokemon stuff. Tom, any meta predictions for Vancouver?
I was gonna try to make up something, but I decided to be honest to say I don't care. I've only thought about post rotation. But Pidgeot Control seems good. Tina V-Star seems good. And play one of those two probably.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. If you're watching this video on demand, we try to do this every Tuesday. There's a new code every week. Jump in the chat, come down here to the Forge, hang out with us, play on stream. We will see you guys.
I have one more shout out
sure,
if
sure.
you'll allow it. There is a very cool YouTube channel on YouTube these days called The Zero Lab.
It's Tom.
It is me, Max, and Austin. We are hoping one day to be sponsored by a cool place like The Forge. So shout out to that. If you like daily uploads of Pokemon content, a podcast, as well as decklist profiles for the new format, check out The Zero Lab. And like John said, don't forget to come by every Tuesday. We'll be streaming here at The Forge with a new discount code every week. Come by, play, buy product, get a discount, have a great time.
Thanks, everybody. We will